Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We are discussing Tarleton State University's doctoral program in educational leadership, and I'm pleased to be joined today by two faculty representatives of the program. As they're going through their presentation, if you do have questions, please feel free to submit those via the Q&A box or the chat box, and we will handle those at the end. But for now, I will just turn things over to them.
Thank you, Dr. Ekbo. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Jesus Chuyabadigo. Welcome to the Doctor of Education EDD program in Educational Leadership at Tarleton State University. Our program is designed for aspiring and current leaders who are ready to transform education through innovation and strategic leadership. We are rooted in the Carnegie project on the Education Doctorate, EDD framework. The program prepares graduates to meet the many complex challenges facing today's schools, districts, and higher education institutions. I'd also like to introduce my colleague and partner in today's video and recruitment, Dr. Ryan Glahman.
Howdy.
So we'd like to, as we go through the slides, if you have any questions, of course, you're welcome to of course, ask, and you're welcome, perhaps a day or two later, you may have additional questions. You're welcome to email us directly or email me directly. So we invite you to really to consider joining our dynamic community of scholar practitioners. Your voice and your expertise and leadership journey matters to us. And so we believe this is just a great program, and it's designed to support your success every step of the way. So remember that we believe the whole program is designed around the needs of our students. So as you look at the first slide, again, this is Educational Leadership and Technology, and we're with the College of Education at Tarleton State University. So as we move on, we have 4 concentrations in our doctoral program. And so the first one there is the higher education leadership, and it consists of 63 semester credit hours. The second doctoral program, let me back up a little bit. So on the higher education leadership, if you're someone that's interested, you're currently actually at a college or a university, and you're interested in moving forward within the higher ed context. So this would be a perfect doctorate for you. So it consists of 63 semester credit hours. So if you're a director or wishing to become a director or hope to become a director, or you'd like to stay within a higher ed and move up, this is an opportunity. It's a great doctoral program that helps you along that pathway. The second doctoral strand that we have is Educational Technology Leadership, and that pretty much speaks for itself. If you're interested in furthering your education from a doctoral perspective, specifically at the leadership level, the Educational Technology Leadership Program would be another interesting and well worth investigating into this particular program. The third strand is the EC through 12 leadership, and it can also include adding the principal certification or the superintendency certification. So we usually have individuals that are principals or current principals, or we have central office staff that are interested in working on their doctorate. So this is another wonderful example of a particular doctoral strand that's designed around early childhood through to 12th grade. And then our final strand is educational finance, and that consists of 63 semester credit hours. And so if you're interested in learning more about educational finance from a higher ed perspective, that would be a doctorate for you. So the program highlights, these are the available modalities. So we have face-to-face supplemented with virtual, and we also offer online synchronous courses. So if you're not too sure what we mean by online synchronous, that means that you are at home, at the comfort of your home, and you're able to access the course through your own laptop or desktop computer, and everything is structured around an online framework. We also do offer face-to-face, and that's just we need to, as I was several of us were talking about this, faculty, about our face-to-face program. So we'd have to have what was that, Dr. Glomman? We need to have a certain percentage. We'd have to have students really identify that we'd have to have a cohort so that the sections would make. And the other, as you go through the program highlights, so the program is designed to be completed in 3 years. For some of you, it may take a little longer. It's hard. It's challenging. We understand when you have a family and you work full time and you're going to school, but in terms of, on an average, it takes about 3 years. The class meetings are scheduled on Wednesday evenings from 6:30 to 9:15. And this is stated that we've collected along the way. So typically it's a 10-year, you have up to 10 years to complete the program, and we have a 92 completion rate. I misspoke that. I didn't mean to say it that way. Can I say that, Dr. Lyman, that over the past 10 years, we have a 92% completion rate. And we have numerous examples of professional advancement following degree conferral. So we've been very blessed. We have a lot of our doctoral students actually, as they go out into the field, continue to find advanced employment because of their doctorate. So what we think, and if you were to talk to some of our current students and past graduates, we have convenient Dallas, Fort Worth area locations, as I mentioned earlier, face-to-face and synchronous online options. The course schedules are designed to meet the needs of working professionals like yourselves, and the course and the design around those courses and the types of readings and expectations are student-centered, and they're designed so that you're not only to engage you, but also all of your classmates. It's a collaborative learning environment, and every course will differ, of course, but as you experience the different courses across the continuum of our program, you'll see that they are collaboratively designed around a collaborative learning environment. And that last point, we follow the cohort model. So we believe that, we believe that the cohort model has shown to be successful in the past, and it helps support and promote our students along that continuum. And so it helps to connect with colleagues from other cohort groups within your concentration. So that's a big plus for our students. All of our students at some point are required, and we'll talk a little bit about this further into the discussion, but part of the requirement, we have courses that are designed that tie to real world activities. And so we have a study away expectation. And so there's a trip, usually scheduled around the first week or so. No, actually it's after July the 4th. So it usually starts around July 5th, and it's for a whole week. And we take a cohort of students to Washington, D.C., and they have a wonderful experience meeting with other Tarleton alumni and travel to different locations in Washington, D.C., and learn about policy and politics and all. It's tied to one of our policy courses. So it's a wonderful course that helps bring the whole content alive. The other option is a study abroad, and they vary. I believe this past year they were in Ireland. So those are options. Students decide whether they want to do the Washington, D.C. trip or the international trip. The other thing that we do is that we encourage our students to publish and present with our faculty. It's actually part of the expectations of the program. So you're not just writing and gathering your data, you're actually creating final products that will help promote your career. This is a quick curriculum overview. As I mentioned earlier, there are different strands. So this particular slide breaks it down a little bit more for you. So again, 63 credit hours. So it's across a 3-year stretch. And when you look at the degree, this is how it's broken down. So there are 24 hours of leadership foundation courses. The other 15 hours are inquiry courses. And then the concentration, which are broken down, that connect back to ed leadership, ed technology, higher ed, or EC 312 or educational finance, those consist of 15 hours. Again, and if you look at that last bullet, you're required to complete 9 semester credit hours of dissertation in practice. And so those last 3 hours, you're actually working on your dissertation, you're gathering your data, you're writing up your results and your conclusions. Um, I want to say that it's when you're at that point, you'll be close to graduation, but it's about maybe about 6 to 8 months in reality. Okay. Oh, this is where Dr. Glarman will take over.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Abrego. So Dr. Abrego just outlined the sort of overall structure of the program in terms of the various kinds of courses, the leadership foundations courses, the inquiry courses, which are also you can think of those as the research courses, where you learn about research methods or data analysis, and then the concentration courses and so on. What we're looking at here, it's kind of a big ugly table, I understand. So if you're watching this from the future, you can go ahead and pause the video and kind of peruse it. I'm not going to go through it all verbatim, but I want to kind of highlight the main pieces and what we're looking at here. This is a sample for a course of study within our program. And so if you look across the top, the various columns, those represent the various concentrations that we offer, the higher ed, ed tech, EC through 12, and then the ed finance. And then as you go across the rows, those represent the various courses you'll take at various times throughout the program. So again, this is meant to be completed in 3 years, or it's possible to be completed in 3 years. So in general, Dr. Abrego also mentioned we use a cohort model. So if you apply and if you are admitted with a cohort of fellow students, and that one cohort group is the group that you will travel through the program with and take all your various courses with, to some extent, but you're going to travel through the program with a cohort. And looking at this, you can kind of get a sense of the kinds of courses that get included throughout the first year of the program. So this is for year 1. And one of the things I'll highlight is if you just look across all of the various columns, regardless of what concentration you're in, everyone is taking the same courses. So these are courses that revolve around leadership theory, organizational theory. You can see there's some research-oriented courses in there as well. But you'll start out by taking courses as your whole cohort throughout year 1. And then as we look forward to year 2 then, which, oh, perfect. They're very similar. I had to wait to see it shift to year 2 in the header there. In year 2 is where the students start differentiating and taking their more concentration specific courses. So again, looking at sort of the summer of year 2, when you look all the way across, everyone is still in the same courses. You're still traveling with your cohort. But by the time you get to the fall of year 2, you see the courses start to look a little bit different. Everyone, regardless of your concentration, is taking that educational equity and identity course. But then you'll notice the second course that's being taken at that time differs, so that the higher ed leadership folks are taking foundations of higher education. Ed tech folks are taking the facilitating instructional innovation course, and so on and so forth. So you can kind of get a sense then about halfway through the program is where you start breaking out and differentiating into your specific concentration areas. One of the other pieces, yeah, we can move on. Very good. And then so then we get into kind of the third year of the program, and this is a little bit busier because an extra course has been added in here. So in general, you take 2 courses per semester. So in any given semester, you'll be enrolled in 2 different courses. until the third year, at which point dissertation credits get added. So you'll notice that for each of these semesters, it's still, you're taking 2 courses, but then dissertation and practice gets added. This is really, I would say, the phase of the program where you really hit the ground running on your dissertation research, or at least you're taking credits for it. Dissertation work is really embedded into the earlier courses as well, but this is really where the taking credits and really getting to a lot of work on it begins. And so one of the other pieces I didn't necessarily allude to from the earlier slides is all the way to the right side. And again, if you're watching this from the future, you can kind of back the video up to see those earlier slides a little bit. If you look all the way to the right-hand side, there's that dissertation milestone column. The dissertation, which is a research study you'll work on and complete throughout the program, is meant to be worked on throughout the full expanse of the program. And you can kind of see here in year 3 is where we're thinking about what the research methods might look like, or looking at your results, your data analysis. But assuming you go through your courses and stay on track with your coursework, and assuming you work on the various dissertation pieces that are embedded in the courses that you'll have to work on outside the courses as well. But if you stay on track with all those things, you'll notice in the way bottom right that spring of year 3 is when you would hopefully be in a position to defend your dissertation, meet all the requirements for the program, graduate and become a Dr. So-and-so. Congratulations. And so really this is intended to be a 3-year program. Sometimes, as Dr. Abrego said, life can happen, careers or families or things have life is a thing that happens to us. And so we recognize that some folks may move through the program at different rates than one another. But assuming folks kind of keep with this sort of a general pace, this is intended to be a 3-year program. Okay. So just a little bit more talking about the structure of our program. Some of it we've kind of already touched on, but just to summarize, so we do have a cohort-based program. Our cohort sizes typically are around 30 based on normal historical precedents. I will say the last couple of years, the cohort sizes have been a bit larger, but that's due to exterior factors. So you can envision what if admitted into a program, it'd be you and 30-ish other folks working through the program together. The program, first classes start in the summer. So we do have various admission time frames. We'll see that on a future slide. But the courses, because it's a cohort design, everyone starts at the same time in the program. And so those courses, the start time is June. So it's intended to be a 3-year program, as we've mentioned, taking 2 courses per semester for the first couple of years. And then when you get into that 3rd year, the dissertation credits get added on top of that. Our program is designed around working professionals. We recognize that the overwhelming majority of our students are people who have wild and crazy things like careers or families and stuff like that. And so we structure our courses and the various things that we do around the schedule of a working professional and try to be understanding of y'all's professional roles and other things you may have going on. So our courses typically meet Wednesday evenings from 6:30 to 9:15 p.m., presumably after business hours or at a time when you would be available to attend those class meetings, whether that's attending them face-to-face at our Fort Worth campus or attending them online via Zoom. This Wednesday, 6:30 to 9:15 time frame is pretty consistent. I will say above and beyond our regular course meetings on those Wednesday evenings, we do once a year have a time where we meet face to face. So typically for one weekend in November, it's a 2-day workshop where folks from all of the cohorts come to the Stephenville campus, and we have a dissertation workshop. There are different sessions to attend. There are opportunities to work on your research, work on your dissertations, try to make good forward progress in the program. But also, perhaps more importantly than that, especially if you're an online student, it's an opportunity to spend time together face to face, because certainly in the very Zoom-oriented world we often live in, opportunities for that can be few and far between. So this is also a really terrific opportunity to get to know your cohort members, get to know your faculty and network, and spend time talking with people about their work or their research or whatever it is that may be going on. So we do once a year have folks come to the Stephenville campus one weekend in November. The aforementioned application deadlines. So courses do start in June, but we have a few sort of admission waves or admission time periods, if you will. So the first admissions deadline is November 1st. So I think it's one of the last slides of the presentation that will talk about what goes into an application and what you need to submit in order to apply for the program. But November 1 is our first application deadline. After that, we'll begin reviewing those applications. There is a interview process and some other things that go on sort of following that. But if you're interested in applying and you want to apply early, November 1 is the deadline you're looking for. And then we also have subsequent deadlines. February 1st, we'll review the next round of applications in February, and then once again following March the 1st, if space allows. I will say we don't have a quota or a specific threshold. It's really, our enrollment numbers are very much driven by how many applications we get and how many of those people we end up admitting. But I will say, if you are interested in applying earlier tends to be better. If you wait till that March 1 deadline, we get into that sort of if space allows sort of territory. And then once again, you'll learn about your admission status sometime either during the fall or spring, depending on when you apply. And then courses start in June. I took a drink at the wrong time as awkward silence. So what makes us unique? What are some characteristics of our program that set us apart or that make us, I would say, functional or a good experience for working professionals, such as y'all who are either here live with us or watching the video. As Dr. Abrego mentioned, Tarleton, we're a member of CPED, or the Carnegie Project on the Education Doctorate. And really, the main mission of the CPED organization is to differentiate the EDD degree from the PhD and make it a very practitioner-centric degree. And so PhD programs are often focused on training researchers, training people who might become faculty members one day or who are really interested in going into research as a field. EDDs, on the other hand, are more practitioner-centric. They are about training practitioners to do the work of educational leadership, whatever that may entail, whatever your setting may be. It's about equipping y'all with the knowledge and skills that you need to resolve problems in your organizations, to be an effective leader within your organizations, and I don't know, be a good educational leader. And so, yeah, next slide, Pretty, please. Okay, thank you so much. So that sort of leads into, we've talked about the dissertation or a dissertation in practice, and what does that mean? What does that entail? in general, a dissertation is a research project that a doctoral student undertakes and conducts as part of their doctoral studies. But a dissertation in practice is something that is very practice centric. It's about actually focusing on some kind of real world problem that you are experiencing in your school district or at your university or at your college or at wherever you happen to be. You know, thinking about some of the big, complex, wicked problems you might encounter. The dissertation in practice is designed to explore and hopefully have a positive impact on a problem such as that. So as part of doing this dissertation in practice, you'll identify some real world problem that you may be facing in your work. You'll examine the root causes of the problem. What are the things that are impacting or feeding into the problem? You'll examine different kinds of theories surrounding the problem. What are ways we might try to understand the problem better, or perhaps even improve this problematic situation? If appropriate, you can design and implement some kind of improvement initiative. Hey, here's a problem I found. Here's something I think we can do to try to fix it or address it in some way, and follow through with that kind of improvement initiative. And then lastly, and perhaps most importantly, I won't say most, very importantly, sharing your results, because this is all about improving practice, and what good is improving practice if we don't tell others what we have found? So sharing your results, disseminating your results in some way to improve or somehow influence practice in the field to make some of these complex problems a little less problematic. And so continuing to talk about the dissertation and its structure. So at a minimum, you will need to enroll in and complete 9 dissertation credit hours. If you skip back a few slides in the video, you can kind of see where those dissertation credits are situated in the 3rd year of the program. But again, completing 9 hours, we're focused on addressing some kind of problem of practice in one's educational environment, whatever that may be. It's very flexible depending on where you are and the kinds of problems or issues you may encounter in your work. The dissertation process is embedded alongside the coursework. You don't officially start taking credits until the 3rd year of the program, but prior to that, you're encouraged to think about what problem you might explore, or doing some literature review, or trying to better understand your problem. And that's something that we try to emphasize kind of from the very beginning of the program throughout all 3 years. The sort of final product, because this is a research study. A dissertation it's a research study, and you will have to write a research paper surrounding that. And so we offer 2 different formats that you could write or write your dissertation as. I'm gonna do them in reverse order here. So one format is the sort of traditional looking 5-chapter dissertation. If you've ever encountered a dissertation online, or maybe pulled one from a database somewhere, this is probably what you've seen. It tends to be a very lengthy kind of document. It includes 5 chapters: introduction, literature review, methods, results, and discussion. And it's a very robust, in-depth sort of report of your study, what you did, what you found, and so forth. Very exhaustive, very in-depth. The other format option that we offer is what we call the multiple product format. And as the name implies, this actually involves developing 2 products. One being a written product, so kind of like the 5-chapter format, but not quite so long and robust. But it's the first product is a written product that is meant to be a manuscript that you will submit and try to have published in an academic journal somewhere. Maybe you've read academic research papers before. If not, and if admitted into our program, you'll read a lot of academic research papers and you'll get a flavor for what that looks like. But your written product will really be a research manuscript that you'll try to have published in a journal. And that's a product that's very functional. If our goal is to disseminate our findings, to tell others what we found, publishing in a journal is a great way to do that. So the written product is a manuscript. And then the second product is some other practice-based product designed to disseminate your findings. This can look a lot of different ways. Former students have presented at different conferences. They have presented before their school boards. If they're in a K-12 setting, they've written various kinds of guides and manuals to help inform practice. So this second product can look a lot of different ways, but ultimately, this multiple product entails two products, a written product, and then some other mechanism to disseminate your findings. And they're both good, and they're both viable ways to conduct your dissertation and disseminate your findings out into the world. Okay, nearing the home stretch. So I'm sure you're tired of my yammering at this point. Application packet. If you're interested in applying, what do you need to do? What do you need to submit? There's a link on screen here. Maybe we can also put that in the chat, or we can make that available in some fashion where you can go to submit a graduate admissions application. And the application packet includes a variety of things. First, official transcripts from all of your previously attended institutions, undergraduate coursework, graduate coursework, any and all official transcripts from previous institutions. You also need 3 reference forms. You can also find additional instructions on our departmental website for this, but there is a reference form for references to complete. You need a reference from a current or previous supervisor, someone you've worked with or worked under in the last 3 years. A current or previous coworker, again, someone you've worked alongside with in the last 3 years. And then an additional supervisor, colleague, faculty member, etc., of your choosing. No real hard and fast guidelines on that one, except it does exclude Tarleton Ed leadership faculty. Some of y'all may have gone through our master's program already, or you might be familiar with our faculty. We can't serve as references for you because that would create a conflict of interest. So barring that, that third reference can come from a current or former supervisor, colleague, faculty member. You have kind of your pick there. And then lastly, a cover letter and your resume or CV. And in that cover letter, you should detail what are your goals for being in and completing the program, what kinds of professional experiences have you had, including your leadership experiences, describing your current work, what's your current position, and then any kind of personal things you wish to share. Your mileage may vary on that depending on one's comfort level, sharing those sorts of things. But when submitting an application, these are really the main core pieces. That application through the College of Graduate Studies, the transcripts, the reference forms, and then that cover letter and resume. Okay, last slide, and this one's easy because I can talk about somebody else for a moment here. So thanks for watching and listening to Dr. Abrego and I describe our program a little bit. If you have questions about the program, we've included the contact information for Dr. Celia Scott. She is the doctoral program.
We can't hear you. You went silent. We see your mouth moving, but we We're not hearing you.
That's annoying. Can you hear me now?
You're back.
Oh my gosh, I'm very sorry. I don't know when I dropped out.
Well,
Uh,
you can start from the beginning of the slide. You were beginning to talk about Dr. Scott.
right, Dr. Scott, she is the coordinator. I apologize for that. She is the coordinator of the doctoral program. So if you have questions about program logistics or submitting an application or really anything central to the EDD program, you're welcome to reach out to her. Otherwise, Drs. Abrego and I are also very happy to discuss things. But I don't know. The end. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll be quiet now.
Thank you both so much. It's been so helpful to have you walk us through all of this. And so for our live audience members, if you do have questions of your own, feel free to submit those using the Q&A box or the chat box. We will handle those shortly. In the meantime, I do have some questions of my own, just to kind of get the ball rolling. So I was really interested to hear about the 92% 10-year completion rate, which struck me as very strong. I wanted to ask, what do you think makes our students so successful in actually getting through the program? And then do you have a sense of how that compares, how that completion rate compares to maybe some of our peer institutions?
Dr. Abrego, I'm happy to take this, or you
Oh,
can, or
oh,
whatever.
please go ahead and then I'll add.
So I would say I would say that level of success, I would say, is down to two main factors. One being the students themselves, and then also on top of that, the faculty in our program. So the students, especially those who are practitioners who have a vested interest in the work that they're doing and trying to make their organizations better. I think they're just naturally invested in doing work that's meaningful, doing work that produces viable improvements to their organizations, and they're interested in seeing the program through. So I think people in our program are often very tenacious and persistent, and so they do what they need to do to complete it. I would also say that our faculty are equally dedicated to students' success. If you come into the program and you get into the dissertation work, what I would hope you would encounter, what you would see is that you get a lot of individual one-on-one sort of attention when it comes to doing your dissertation research and saying, okay, here's how we can move your study forward, or here's how we can set you up for success, or whatever the case may be. So I think, but it's ultimately the people involved that help yield that kind of success rate. And as far as comparisons to sister institutions, I don't have any off the top of my head. I will say, generically speaking, when it comes to PhD programs, at least, PhD program completion rates often hover around 50%-ish, give or take. And so I don't know, the characteristics fully, what that's down to in terms of PhD versus EDD or the people involved or whatever the case may be. But where our success rate is quite a ways above that level, at least.
Mhm. I would like to add part of the success, if maybe not most of it, I would claim, based on my observations working closely with faculty, it really begins, we have a strong mentorship and faculty support infrastructure. And what I mean by that is that all of our doctoral faculty have take on every semester, they teach they're not only teaching their doctoral courses, but they also have they have a section where they take on students and chair dissertations. So there's this consistent and timely feedback between the dissertation chairs and the committee members and the student, and that seems to be part of our kind of, we're consistent about that. The other part of that is that we work really hard. The faculty work really hard to balance rigor with encouragement. And so they're guiding students through research challenges. I actually just had a meeting last week with one of the faculty members. So we have some faculty members that meet weekly. They choose one day out of the week where they meet with that person, maybe from 5:30 to 6, and so they identify a time that's convenient for the student, and our faculty meet on a consistent basis. And so that's part, if you want to call it, part of that secret sauce, but really it's about caring about our students. So we really, it's not, hey, welcome to class, send an email and we'll see you in a month. No, the faculty work really hard to establish and sustain those relationships. One of the other, I think, ingredients that have led to such a high percentage of completion is also we have very clear program structures. And so what I mean by that is that we have these very well-designed milestones. And by that, I mean coursework, schedules, what courses you'll take and when. You get support in developing your proposal and how to defend it. There's also something called IRB, which is the Institutional Review Board. And so we work with IRB. And then that whole dissertation process, how to put it together, and try to address all the challenges the students will face. One of the other components of the clear program structure is that we have very transparent expectations for writing, research, and progression. So you're not left at the door. We help you throughout the whole process, and that's so I believe we're very good communicators with our students. We keep them informed. We keep them updated. One of the other things that I found interesting, and which I love about our program, is that we really encourage strong research and writing skills. So as you, Dr. Glaman mentioned the dissertation writing workshop that's offered, I believe, in November. So it's those types of access that we provide for our students. So through that workshop, we provide strong research and writing skills. We create this access to workshops and writing centers. And one of the things and then to complement our students, we have a very resilient and persistent group. So these are hardworking professionals. They're already leaders in their own right, and so they work collaboratively with the faculty in terms of addressing revisions and studying the timelines. But I would also like to add that in addition to we also offer in terms of institutional resources, you'll have access to libraries, you'll have access to databases, you'll have access to research software, and at some point you'll be assigned an advisor. So there's advising. We help you. Our doors are always open, so you're welcome to come in and talk to us about career and potential career services. But I would say that the mentoring component, the advising component in our program is very strong. And so our students are able to finish the program in a timely manner because of all that I've mentioned at this point and what Dr. Glomine shared as well. So it's a well-supported cohort.
Well, and that was going to be my next comment. You had mentioned earlier that this program is structured as a cohort program where students start together and stay together the whole 3 years. And I would imagine that's a built-in support system where people are encouraging their classmates even when they think they may not be able to go on. And then, of course, everyone wants to finish with their group. And so you do what you can and you need to be able to keep the cohort whole and together. So I imagine that's a very impactful retention factor as well. Okay, for those who may not know, Tarleton actually operates in many locations. We've got our main campus in Stephenville, Texas. We've got a campus in Fort Worth. We are also in Waco, Texas, Bryan, Texas, and also online. So you had mentioned that there's an in-person cohort for this program and also an online cohort. Where does the in-person cohort meet?
So the in-person cohort would meet. Historically, it has met at our Fort Worth campus, oftentimes because that's where the majority of our students have come from. Throughout the history of the program, we've offered face-to-face cohorts in Fort Worth and in Stephenville and in Waco. So we've offered kind of all over the map. It just has historically depended on um, where folks are applying from, the interest level in face-to-face versus online, which I'll speak to that for just one quick second. As part of the application process, or I think during it might be in the application form, I'm not sure, but at some point along the way, you're asked if you would prefer to attend classes face-to-face or online via Zoom. And that's at the student's choice. Again, we want to offer something that is functional for you and fits with your professional life. So those times most recently that we've had face-to-face cohorts, they've been at our Fort Worth campus. But I will say the last year or two, just about everyone has chosen online, and so we haven't had a face-to-face cohort for a couple years. But but that's driven by, again, student interest and where they want to be. And so if folks are interested in face-to-face and we can make that happen, that's certainly something that we offer, and typically at the Fort Worth campus.
I noticed that you indicated there are, at least for the first 2 years, students are enrolled in 2 courses a semester, but you only mentioned one class night for the meeting. How does that work then?
Yeah, so for any given semester, you'll be enrolled in 2 courses for that semester, and you will meet Wednesday evenings, switching off between those courses. So for week 1, you'll meet with your first class the Wednesday night. The following week, you'll meet for class 2. After that, you'll meet for class 1 again. And so you'll alternate between your 2 different classes. And so that way you get to complete 2 classes a semester. It's meeting 1 time per week, which I would say most students can manage as far as scheduling is concerned. And so that's the rotation that makes that schedule work.
I know that the program's been connected to the Carnegie Project for several years now. How common is that for an EDD program, and what impact or difference do you think being a Carnegie EDD program has made for the students?
So the commonness of being in the Carnegie Project, I honestly can't speak to. On this, I think the CPED website might indicate how many member institutions there are. There might be 80 or 100 perhaps member institutions. I'm not completely sure of that number. Um, but not all EDD programs are CPED programs. And so, but I would say what sets a CPED program apart, and ours most I would say notably, because this webinar is about our program in particular, is really that focus on practice and addressing problems of practice, real tangible problems that are affecting institutions. A dissertation, it isn't research for research's sake. It's to try to, how do we improve outcomes for our stakeholders? How do we improve our organizational processes? As a really fast example, I got an email from a former student last week She works at a large university, not in Texas, but she works at a large university in their sort of research compliance department. And she was keeping me updated on, hey, based on my dissertation study, we held a training, and my supervisors want to implement some guidelines and streamline some of our processes. And we're going to present my findings at a research compliance conference. And so there that focus on practice leads to real tangible improvements within an organization. And that's, I think, something that a CPED program and ours, I would say, is equipped to offer.
I would add that, if I may, the practical impact of CPED. So just to piggyback off of Dr. Glomman's comments, um, the advantage to joining our program is that, well, it helps you address a real problem, a real pressing challenge within your own workplace or professional context. And so as you're working to solve that problem, the goal is you're producing solutions that can be applied immediately to improve school districts, or a higher education context. And in addition to that, it's not just that you've identified a problem and you're trying to solve that problem. You're also you're working within a much larger context. So you're not just benefiting your classroom or your campus. It's really it extends beyond that. You're part of an organization, so if you're helping your own, let's say hypothetically, you're trying to improve the math scores at the middle school, and so by identifying and solving that particular problem, that can be applied to other campuses as well. So you're it encourages collaboration with stakeholders. You're sharing findings. You help provide support to that decision-making process because you've got data and results. So again, it's there are many benefits or outcomes to being part of CPED. Um, we're excited because um, at the end of all of this, um, when you think about your students, so the research is directly tied to the student's role and interests. Engagement and commitment to completion are often higher because of that. So you're not lost in the process. As I mentioned earlier, you're supported by very strong faculty that are good mentors that understand the CPED program, so they understand the infrastructure, so they coach you and they support you along that whole continuum because they understand the program really, really well.
Yes. So if someone's interested in the program, but they're not sure what problem they would want to solve, is there any guidance for them about that?
Yes, at some point, I'll give you an example. I just had a meeting last week with one of the chairs, and so she actually met with the student face to face. He wanted to come in, and he came into the Tarleton Fort Worth campus, and so they met for about an hour. And this particular faculty member asked. It all begins with just asking lots of questions. Where do you work? Have you thought about, are there any particular issues or problems at your campus that you'd like to be involved in terms of solving? And so that first conversation about um, what that particular student perceives to be a problem, and then begin that discussion, that research discussion. What to read? What have you read? These are some research articles that you should access to begin the conversation. And then we have a series of courses, of course, in terms of research, in terms of content specific areas. And so the doctoral chair and the student basically work on a plan to begin that journey. So there's a lot of questioning going back and forth and multiple meetings to fine tune identifying which may seem like a broad issue, But the point is to narrow what are we actually going to study at this particular campus or campus of higher ed. But it all begins with that relationship, which I believe is very strong, the relationship between our faculty and the student.
Thank you so much. All right, wrapping up here, and I'm not seeing any questions from the audience, so this will be our last question. I don't know, Dr. Blum, if maybe you could talk more about the admissions process and timeline. You mentioned the various deadlines. There's an early application deadline in November, priority deadline, which I believe was February, and then was the final deadline March or April?
March 1st.
Okay, so say someone is very early in the process. They've applied in, say, September for the following summer. What can they expect during that process? When will they receive a decision? And we talked about the interview process, what's the structure for that? What can they expect from that?
Yes, absolutely. So if you're interested in applying, the previous slide sort of detailed kind of what goes into that application. And then yes, so per the various deadlines we have, November 1 for early, then February 1 and March 1. So once you submit your application and that deadline comes and goes, a few things start happening. First being that's when we faculty start looking at applications and reviewing materials and things like that. There are a couple other things that happen after that deadline. One being there is an interview involved, and so you will be contacted by the chair of the admissions committee, whomever that person may be, one of our faculty members anyway. You'll be contacted by one of our faculty to schedule an interview. Those interviews typically happen around the middle of the month following a deadline. So for example, if you submit by November 1, you can anticipate maybe having that interview in sort of mid to late November-ish, thereabouts. And so there's that interview process. In addition to that, given this program involves research and it involves writing, we also do have applicants complete a graduate or a doctoral writing assessment to sort of assess where applicants are at in terms of writing ability. And so that's something that's conducted at kind of at the applicant's convenience. So you'd get a link in your email with instructions. There's a prompt. You'll kind of develop a written response to this prompt, and so you'll complete that writing assessment. That'll also happen within the few weeks following that application deadline. So again, if you're submitting by November 1, you could expect to do that writing assessment kind of in the middle, late November time period. And you'd get an email communication about that. So you would do the initial application, you would do the interview, you would do that writing assessment, and then based on all of those factors, then that's when the faculty would make decisions regarding admissions, and you would hear back from us, again, using November 1 just as an example, you would probably hear from us sometime early to mid-December is kind of the time frame. So maybe a month and a half following that initial application, and then that would hopefully give you enough time to make whatever plans or arrangements you need to make professionally to begin courses that following summer.
So because decisions are made after each round, there really is a big advantage to applying sooner than later.
The only in general, no. The criteria don't change. The process doesn't really change. So whenever it's convenient for the student, if I can't quite make November 1, that's okay. I'll make February 1. Very happy to do that. The only caveat there is depending on how many applications we receive and how many people we admit. Again, that's not something we control. It fluctuates year to year. If we get to that third admissions, deadline, and we've already, admitted a good cohort of students, that might limit the number of people we admit at that point in time. But that's just a caveat on if you're targeting that very final admissions period.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. It's been so helpful to have you folks walk us through this. For anyone looking for the application that Dr. Glahman had referenced earlier, there was a link on the slide, but an easy way to get there is just to go to tarleton.edu/graduates, which is the homepage for the College of Graduate Studies. You'll see an Apply Now link in the upper right-hand corner of that homepage, and that will take you directly to the application. So thank you to everyone for your time. This recording will be available to review at your convenience on the College of Graduate Studies YouTube channel. So if you need to go back and watch it again, reference it, please do so. And we'd love for you to share this recording with anyone who you think would benefit from pursuing an EDD with us here at Tarleton. So thank you again, everyone, for your time. And I think with that, we can end our webinar. So have a
And
good
just, we look forward to supporting your journey.
Thank you so much.